are most likely not reading this right now. My emphasis is on the word now, as I'm sure you've read through this in the past. You are now only analyzing it for the first time as your brain has stored it for memory. What you are seeing is only a mere recreation. In fact, there may not even be a computer screen in front of you right now. This issue arises from the fact that the form in which we perceive our world is not only primarily, but solely reliant on our 5 major senses. Touch allows us to feel soothing pleasure or warns us of injury. Smell opens our olfactory system to the world, letting us breathe in various scents. Taste chiefly serves to determine foods that are edible. Hearing opens our ears to the waves of noise around us. And lastly, vision, our most significant sense, allows us to interpret our surroundings through sight. I'm sure you already knew that. But what you didn't know is the disturbing unreliability our senses truly have. As I earlier stated, you probably aren't truly reading through this right now. The 5 senses all deliver things called sensory neurons to the brain, which carry information our senses have perceived. Up until this point, there is little to no problem in the way we speculate the world. The main flaw comes into play when our neurons enter our brain, the place at which they arrive. Similar to a train station, is directly tied to the area of the mind that stores memories. In this case, the train station is clogged and very few neurons manage to actually pass through the traffic. In addition to the memory side of our brain, the greatest link to this area is our imagination section. Most of what you perceive never truly was. It never existed. This is where the disturbing part comes in. Have you ever seen a monster or a scraggly figure in your peripherals? When you instinctively turn your head, the entity disappears and you realize it was only an illusion. However, it was not only an illusion. Unfortunately, these unsettling sights are indeed the reality breaking through for a quick moment, the time that the truth really gets a chance to shine in the spotlight is during sleep. Nightmares and unpleasant sights are all real. They're very real. Our brain is nearly inactive at this time, allowing all sensory neurons to be the sole operator within the body. This is why dreams can sometimes seem so real. It is only when you wake up that you are once again creating a fictitious world around you. I'm sure by this point you are wondering where I've gained my credibility or how I have obtained my knowledge. Don't I too have to face the challenges of our inaccurate senses? I indeed do. But I have had extended moments in perceiving the real world. The real world is not a favorable realm. Demons, monsters, and obscure figures impossible to make out rot here. They may even be rotting in front of you now. I know this because of my experience. Some of us are born with the ability to break through the wall of fiction better than others, and I happen to be one of the few who can. I had a rather long journey to my final discovery, and it's quite jumbled up, so bear with me. The first event, December 4th, 1990. Age 5, Judy. I was only 5 during my initial encounter. Despite my youth, this breakthrough has lasted me through everything in my life leading up to now. This is when I met Judy. She was my imaginary friend. I was relentlessly reminded that she wasn't real, but after growing older and older, I could still see her, and she didn't fade. I soon disregarded what I was told. I didn't want to, but I had to. I have to admit I was rather disturbed by the fact only I could see her. If I was asked as a child what she looked like, I would probably say something along the lines of a witch, or a green woman that walked funny. As I matured, I came to the realization that the funny witch description wouldn't suffice. Rather, she was a disfigured human with discolored skin and peeling lips. Her limping was disturbing and indicated her disfigurement. Her voice was extremely raspy and designated in my ears for hours after she was done speaking. This is what I saw. This is probably close to what you actually look like. Second event, June 20th, 1994, age 9, glass cracker. This second breakthrough was more of a warning or a lesson than anything. It may have only lasted me a few brief painful moments, but the scars will leave me forever in memory of this discomforting event. The realization took place during a picnic. There was a bonfire that the rest of the children and I were sitting at, making s'mores. I had eaten maybe a little over 4 or 5 s'mores when I bit into the 6th one. I felt a sharp agony sting the inside of my mouth. I began spitting the s'more out, anxious of what had caused it. When I looked to the ground, I saw marshmallow, some chocolate, and a pool of blood. However, I saw no trace of any graham cracker. Instead, I saw sheets of glass. In fear, I slowly raised my eyes, as I had hoped not to see. There weren't any graham crackers in sight. Only the blood-tainted lips of 8- and 9-year-olds gathered around the fire. This taught me that you never really know what you're eating, and this is something you should keep in mind the next time you chow down on a sandwich. Third event, May 12th, 1997, age 11. This final recollection I'll discuss is the most repulsive of all. I recommend you do not continue reading if you are easily frightened. However, this will deliver less of a fear factor and more of a depressing truth of mine. I was 11 when this happened, and only have regretted this ever since. It was rather late at night, or perhaps very early in the morning. I can't recall. Regardless, I heard a noise from downstairs. I grabbed a nearby kitchen knife and held it tight for protection. Slowly, I turned a corner, then I spotted a burglar. I jutted my knife out, slicing into his abdomen. His flesh ripped as I swiftly pulled it out and repeatedly stabbed the man to death. When I pulled my knife away, after finishing him off, I noticed something. This man was wearing a locket. This man was in fact not even a man. He was my mother. Of course, imaginative skills covered the issue up to the public as they saw me for a hero. Though, I will never forget the brief moments I witnessed that truth. I watched her lay there encompassed by her own blood, gasping for air. In the realm we perceive, she still remains living, but I know in reality she is not. Unfortunately for you, I guess you will never know if those around you actually exist, or are just figments of your imagination. I have much more to tell, but wish to remain reserved since I prefer not to expose personal anecdotes to the public. I may later share more, but of course my writing may be undiscovered as the decision is really up to your senses. Have they chosen to show you this? I wonder. Just keep this in mind. You never know what you're really seeing. That empty hall in the middle of the night may really have crazed murderers in it. The monster under your bed may actually live there. The truth is, you'll never really know.